Welcome to the Easton Economic Development Council meeting, September 9th, 2021. We have a quorum. I believe some people will be trickling in throughout the meeting. First thing I want to do is introduce Jonathan Spencer. Jonathan is the newest member of Economic Development. He applied for this, he was appointed to it by the select board. And during that whole interview process, Jonathan expressed a lot of interest, a lot of excitement, and a ton of energy, which is something that I always look for, regardless of any board. But this board is kind of near and dear to me because I'm on it. So Jonathan, if you could introduce yourself and tell the group a little bit about who you are and what your interest is.
Sure. So Jonathan Spencer, lifelong resident of Easton, Massachusetts. My day job, I work for Liberty Mutual Insurance. I don't sell insurance. I work for corporate. I do advertising. So I do like the TV commercials. If you're familiar with Limu and Emu and Doug and those peeps that you see on TV. So yeah, I work on advertising and marketing, production, video production, digital marketing, all of that for corporate, for Liberty Mutual Insurance, mostly on the advertising and video production side of the company. So that's what I do in my day job. And why I wanted to be so I'm married. I have 2 little girls. They go to school here in Easton. Yeah, I've been here my whole entire life. I went to high school at Olive Ames High School, and this is where I want to be. This is where I want to raise my kids. This is my town, and my wife and I, months ago, we're talking, and the state of the world being what it is, and I was like, oh my God, I have all these ideas, I have all this energy, like I want to do something, and my wife said, well, then get involved. Get involved, do something, get involved. I was like, then I will do it, and I will get involved. I will get back involved. And when I started looking into like, what could I do? This was the clear thing that I was like, okay, Economic Development Committee, that's where I want to be. That's what I want to do. So I'll be honest. It's funny because I watched at the great recommendation of Mark, I watched some of the past meetings. And all of a sudden, I'm watching this meeting. I'm learning about a new Easton app. I'm like, what? I didn't even know that our town had an app. This is fantastic. I downloaded the app. I'm playing around in the app. I'm like, this is, and it just sort of validated, like, oh my God, okay, great. I'm ready to jump in. I know nothing, but I'm ready to jump in.
Outstanding. So you can all see the energy, right? I wasn't lying when I said this. Jonathan comes with a lot of energy. So welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you.
So before we get to the meeting minutes, I just, for a matter of quorum, I'm going to say your name, and if you could just say present, just to clarify that we do have quorum. So Bruce Boyer.
Present.
Dottie Fulgenetti.
Present.
Dan Smith.
Present.
Jonathan Spencer.
Present.
Mark Lamb present. Stephanie, I don't know if you're with us yet, but okay, I don't think she's with us right now, but we do have quorum, so we're going to start. If somebody would like to make any corrections to the meeting minutes from August 12th, now is the time. Is there any corrections? And if not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve?
So moved. Smith.
Smith?
Second, Fulgenetti.
Second, Fulgenetti. Okay, I'll go around. Bruce?
Approved.
Dottie?
Accepted.
Jonathan?
Accepted.
Dan?
Approved. I'll go with Bruce.
Stephanie?
Are we talking about minutes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yay to accept.
All right, Lamb accept. Okay, so meeting minutes are approved. Easton Outside update. So the last time we talked, Easton Outside had moved from the Where's Chris campaign, which was kind of put on hold, wasn't stopped by any means. We're just waiting for people, more people to want to participate. And our focus had moved to promoting the app. So that is where the focus is right now. And I believe our next meeting is next week. And I do think in that meeting, we really need to come up with something, some activity, because I'm feeling like we need more activity in that group right now. And I think a lot of it comes, or I think one of the problems is people are so busy. These businesses are actually really busy. Another odd problem that they have is they're so busy and they don't have the help to help, the employees to support their business. So they're working many, many hours. It's kind of an ironic situation, but that's what's going on. I don't know, Dottie or Stephanie, if you would like to share any Easton Outside updates or thoughts on what's going on there.
I don't have any at this point. The next meeting is this coming Tuesday. I'm kind of expected to have some discussion around that at that time.
Okay. Jonathan, are you aware of what Easton Outside is?
So I listened to it in some of the past meetings, but I wasn't 100% sure exactly what it was. So if there's like a quick recap, I'd love that.
Okay. Does anybody want to share with Jonathan? I've talked about it till I'm blue in the face. Does anyone want to share with Jonathan what Easton Outside is?
Well, I'll jump in. It's basically, I'm going to call it a grassroots effort by the local businesses that started to help promote awareness that most of the businesses, including restaurants in town, kind of the personal services, some retail restaurants, that they were still open for business, complying with all the COVID-19 health protection mandates during the lockdown. And then to talk about how they were moving beyond that, beyond the lockdown phase and continuing to operate. And the idea was that it would be a long-term campaign. It wouldn't just be here we are operating during COVID, but here's how Easton's businesses function. Here are the businesses that are available to you. So really kind of promoting local business in Easton. And the outside piece of it came from, again, COVID, because a lot of the restaurants had outdoor dining, things like that. But the fact that you could tie all the wonderful outdoor activities, recreation opportunities, both passive and active in Easton, into your supportive businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I could just add a little bit to it. So the Easton Outside campaign, it was, as Stephanie points out, a grassroots effort, but it was Economic Development Council kind of partnered with the Easton Chamber and with any business owner, even if they weren't part of the Easton Chamber, to support local business. Easton's open, business is open. And what wound up happening was this incredible relationship between the business community and the town of Easton was strengthened. And so there's a direct line of communication between business in town, the chamber, economic development, and I think are working together better than we ever have. Things are solved in real time, and we're able to really support one another. In the past, before the pandemic, you would have business competing with one another, and businesses in town competing with one another, restaurants, for example, and they didn't really even know who each other was. But when they came together during this pandemic, what they wound up doing was supporting one another, because the realization, the true realization was, the way to succeed is the rising tide lifts all boats, right? And it actually worked. So you would have McGuire's supporting Leandro's, or you would have some small business supporting another small business, and it really worked, and it created this incredible dynamic between businesses, between the town, and it's been going on for about a year, I think, and it's just been so successful. It's been covered in local newspapers, it's been on local news, and we don't want it to end, but so we need to come up with more ideas on how to promote, how to spread word, and how to involve the town and business. So that's
where this ties into the Easton is open signs, right? I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I
Yeah.
always, I mean, you know, my perspective coming in cold, essentially, right? Like I'm just a resident of the town and have been. So like I see those Easton is open signs everywhere. And that is always spurs that like, okay, great, Easton is open. That's just kind of the correlation that I have with it. But interesting that this is where it kind of came from. That's awesome.
Yeah, and actually, a lot of other communities are looking at what we created and modeling it for their own community because it's so unique. It's been so impactful. So
I just want to throw in that it's really hard, like where we are right now, to remember where we were about a year ago. So part of the real focus on the Easton outside is when the state said that businesses had to close, and then they said they were allowing them to reopen. The town heard the guidance at the same time as the general public when the governor announced it on TV. We didn't get a heads up. So like on a Tuesday, he said, starting Monday, next Monday, towns can let businesses do outdoor dining. Oh, that's awesome. Except it's a lot of work to do that. You have to create safety policies and ensure, businesses didn't even have things on order to get tents and, tables and things like that, except McGuire's. He was all ready to go and pull the trigger on it. He was one of the first. But it's a lot of work to do that. And, there's a lot of policies that had to, be put together in the matter of a couple of days that Stephanie and our inspectional services group and all of those, and then the select board had to vote on it, and everything had to come together very quickly. So people were still very hesitant to go out, even when businesses were allowed to have the outdoor dining. So when fall came around, they were like, we're really going to lose people because now if people don't want to dine outside. So the conversation was, up in Canada and, the colder places, people just bundle up and they go outside, dress appropriately, and they do dine outside. A lot of those days are nice enough that you can even really just go out with a sweatshirt, especially if there's a tent. So it was really marketing to get people to reimagine the way that you do things in the winter, and you can go outside and have lunch on a nice day or take advantage of all of the amenities. So now it's like the Wayback Machine. It feels like such a long time ago that we were talking about that. But when we first had our community meeting about what we could do to help the businesses, we had lots of great ideas. We could do a festival, we could do this, we could do that. And then the businesses were like, no, we can barely hang on. We can't do like another big thing like that. And they came up with the idea really themselves on how to promote this with videos. And so I think the reason it's so successful is that the stakeholders really, like Stephanie said, as a grassroots, they rolled up their sleeves and did the work.
Yeah, we got to keep it going. It's been so great for the town, for business, that we need a post-pandemic strategy or something that hopefully we'll talk about next week in our next Easton Outside meeting. And for anybody on this board and anybody at home, anybody can participate in those meetings. Those meetings are, Stephanie, please correct me if I'm wrong, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Once a month, thereabouts. If you're interested, you can email Stephanie. She'll send you the Zoom link. And anybody's welcome. There's really no leader or chair of it. It's very organic, and everybody just kind of pitches in, throws in ideas. Sometimes your ideas get shot down. Sometimes they get supported. Don't take anything personally. I know I've had plenty of ideas that have not been accepted, and some have. But
a lot of good ideas that do get incorporated. It really is.
Yeah. It's great. And
then
fun.
I'll just throw in a disclaimer, right? Because it's not a town meeting, so it's not posted. It is a meeting that's driven by the chamber and the business community that the town helps facilitate. So you won't find an agenda for that.
So, and just so you know, the Economic Development Council members, I have been sending it to everyone.
Yeah, you absolutely have.
So, Jonathan, I did add you. I thought I had added you last week before I sent the agenda out, and Mark kind of pointed out you didn't receive the agenda, so you are part of our distribution list now.
Oh, great, fantastic. And I think as I'm listening to this, my mind is racing with like, oh my God, let's get igloos, right? We got to get, but I don't, I don't know. I guess my question is like, I look at the restaurants and I know, like we said, McGuire's built like an amazing tented outdoor patio, right? And Porfinio has had a sort of pre-existing, and they sort of expanded their outdoor seating. And Farmer's Daughter had, I know that like, the sidewalk got expanded out and down there for their seating, which is great. I guess I just have just a general question. How does that all come about? Right? Is like they have to apply for stuff like that. You know what I mean? So like as we're generating ideas, and this is just my own thinking, like as we throw out ideas, once that idea is out there, is it up to the business to go and get that approved? Do you know what I mean? I just am curious how that works.
It's really figuring out whose role and responsibility it is for whatever the particular action is. So like on the sidewalk bump out for Farmer's Daughter in the Main Street, or whoever occupies that space or wants to take advantage of it, that's an idea that had come about from conversations with the community and with the business community. And then the town had that, because that's a town project that
Right.
the town owned, the town took responsibility for that and acted on it.
Awesome.
We
But
tried
also that was in play already because the downtown was being, we were redoing that streetscape project as part of a grant. So we were making some tweaks to it at the same time this came up, so we were able to do it. If we didn't have a grant for that, we didn't do this specifically for the Farmer's Daughter, is what I'm saying.
Right.
It was part of a bigger project, and we had the grant funding to do it at the same time. If a business came to us and said, we want you to create new sidewalks just out of the blue, that would be a big ask if we didn't have
Something
we
already.
weren't in the middle of a grant process, right?
I understand. Okay, great.
And to that point, there was other funding that was made available as part of the stimulus money. There was the Dottie, it's not the complete streets, it's the streets and
Shared streets and spaces.
So there was money. We didn't have to take advantage of that because, as Dottie pointed out, we already had a grant in the works that allowed us to expand that sidewalk. But being aware of those, in Dottie's role with the Old Colony Planning Council, she's been instrumental in sharing information about funds that have been available to different businesses to help them. So that's part of the role that we all play, the Economic Development Council. So it's really, if there's one thing that defines how these things happen, it's communication. And listening to and reaching out. What are the needs? What are the businesses looking for? How can we help them recover? And then what resources are available to bring to bear to make that happen? And how quickly can we respond?
So it's worth pointing out, and Jonathan, one of the things you had mentioned was a lot of the outdoor dining and whatnot that occurred last year. So that occurred because there was a state of emergency that was put in place, and as part of that state of emergency, you could have temporary outdoor dining. There was still a process to go through to have temporary outdoor dining, but it was a far less stringent process than permanent. As you can imagine, a permanent structure, it's a whole different story than temporary. But we also didn't have a process to create a temporary, to expedite temporary outdoor dining for businesses. So Stephanie, the town, put this together so that you could apply, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stephanie, but you could apply for outdoor temporary dining inside of like a week, and I think some people it was 2 days.
I really, in all honesty, I was not here the 6 months. Everybody, I've been here back long enough that 6 months doesn't even matter, but I can't take responsibility, but yes, that's what happened.
Occurred. And
my predecessor, everyone got together to.
So, and what wound up happening out of that was people now had outdoor dining, albeit temporary, but then they started to enjoy this temporary outdoor dining. And then the word came as these orders, the state of emergency might be lifted. When it's lifted, what about the temporary outdoor dining? So you could kind of see the writing on the wall. So a lot of these places in advance put forward all of their permanent plans so that outdoor dining could stay. And they applied, and it worked out for a lot of those places. But all of that outdoor dining was born out of the state of emergency, out of the allowance of this temporary outdoor dining, which then led into permanent. So it was kind of, I say this all the time, and I'm a silver lining type of guy. So it was difficult, but in the end, it worked out for a lot of those businesses.
Yeah, and I think that's a real good point, because I think most of these businesses didn't have outdoor dining, and yet that's something that people really enjoy and look for. So I don't think there is one restaurant that had the temporary outdoor dining that hasn't come back to get their special permit for permanent outdoor dining.
Which is awesome. It's so
and it's kind of like a given that the town will support that.
And Mark, I got a question. When you kicked off the discussion around Easton Outside, you had mentioned that they may need some help. We want to help raise awareness and whatnot. I haven't been able to make one of these Easton Outside meetings, regrettably. Just it doesn't work for my schedule. But has the topic of internships come up? Because I see, looking from the outside in, it's a great opportunity to collaborate with Stonehill or Bridgewater State. They've got MPA programs, they've got business programs, they've got marketing programs, and they also have monies available to pay for these internships where it's not coming out of the town's coffers. We're not out there coming up with a GoFundMe to, pull some, young talent, ambitious talent out of any of these universities to kind of help with what, I don't know, but I just in terms of like the evolution of this and how organic it's been, one thing that we could consider, if it hasn't already been, is for the town to sponsor an intern or a group of interns to do work, and whatever that work is, let the group define it. But I know Bridgewater State's eager to get bodies out and get some meaningful internships out the door. I'm sure Stonehill's got similar opportunities from an intern perspective. But to me, it's a great opportunity to kind of just endorse something to help move something along. And if there's a pain point for the group to help raise awareness, we can get some people dedicated for a period of time to help take its next step, right?
I think that's a fantastic idea, Dan. And not like, you mentioned Easton Outside, but it's not, I would ask for something along those lines for the town, for economic development, so you could plug them into Easton Outside. You could plug them into whatever campaign, plug them into anything you have going on in that moment, to help Stephanie, to help us, to help economic development, to help Easton Outside, whatever. That's a great idea. That's something I think we should probably think about a little bit more. Yeah,
so if maybe for the next agenda or sometime down the line, maybe get somebody like Fred Clark or somebody from his team to come talk about the program, introduce it to us, and then have us make a decision as to whether or not we want to be a vehicle to support whatever it is that we're going to support. I think it's just makes tremendous sense. Okay.
I love that idea. I mean, it elevates what we're doing to another level. We have to definitely think about this, and I'd like to talk about this concept a little bit more, perhaps in our next meeting. Anybody have any questions or comments about that? Okay, so that was Easton Outside update. That was like a 20-minute update and education. You get a little crash course, Jonathan.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is Manufacturing Day. Stephanie, would you mind talking about Manufacturing Day?
I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Dottie, please help me out here, because I didn't have time this morning to print it off the flyer. I believe it's October 1st. Because that would be on Friday. So is it the following week?
Yep, it's October 1st.
That's what I thought, but my calendar shows that, it's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
I can't read my calendar. So October 1st is Manufacturing Day. In the past, what we've done is provided like a little news item on the home webpage and something on the Economic Development Council Facebook page that talks about about manufacturing in Easton, promoting Manufacturers Day. I know Northeastern, and I was hoping that John was going to be at the meeting today, that Northeastern Machine has generally held an open house where they invite people in so they can see what manufacturing looks like in the modern world, which is a much cleaner, quieter operation and requires a higher level of skilled labor than has in the past. They do a very good job with the woman that works for them. I think I know her first name's Pam, I think it's Martell, who works with mass hires and the schools to help prepare people for manufacturing positions, which are a better paid position in town. So I will be writing up a little blurb about that. And I also have a list. We've been working in my department on really building our list of businesses in Easton and categorizing them. So we have a list of the manufacturers that are known to us. There are 22 of them, which I think people would be surprised to know. So the little blurb will also include a list of the manufacturing operations that exist in Easton. Dottie, I was hoping that John could be on the call so we could ask him if you want to talk about the select board.
Yeah, I'm having a little panic attack because that should be on our next agenda, and the agenda just went out and I don't remember seeing it. So I'm going to have to look and check on that. So
Yeah.
Normally this sneaks up on us fast because all of a sudden it's Labor Day and then you're looking at the end of the month for this. But anyway, normally we do a proclamation on Manufacturing Day or before it, and Northeastern Machine, I don't know if they'll do that this year or not because of COVID, but they usually have an open house. And so I'll find out more about that to see if that is something that they're going to do. It might also make sense. I can reach out to the local workforce investment board and see if they have any opportunities to promote manufacturing jobs or any kind of training or things like that. So I'll make a note to do that.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments about that, about Manufacturing Day? All right, Stephanie, grant program updates, local rapid recovery and the regional pilot program.
Okay, Dottie's going to talk about the second. I'll talk about the first. The local rapid recovery program update, Jonathan, for your benefit, it was one of the stimulus money programs being offered by the state. It provides technical assistance to communities to help identify projects that will help businesses become more, help businesses recover from and become more resilient to future events like a pandemic or other types of economic downturn, so that they can continue to stay in business and operate. You had to identify a target economic growth area or district, and then what you would like to see, what were the challenges that you were seeing as a result of COVID, and what kind of support you were looking for. So we identified the Queesic Commercial District. Of course, we've talked about the businesses that were hit. We have a lot of restaurants and retail operations, and over 300 communities in the state were awarded the technical assistance grant. So we've been working, and how that worked is you were paired with a consulting firm that was qualified to work with you to develop your project plan. The steps involved involved a business survey that was sent to the businesses within the district that you were targeting, and then a public outreach session where we invited members of that business community to talk. We identified stakeholders within the district, and our consultant reached out and talked with them to get further input for the program and project development. They are in the process of putting together plans around three or four topic areas. One is transportation. Again, with the Queeset Commercial District, that's the area along Washington Street between Belmont Street and Depot Street. A lot of the improvements we've been talking about over the years for that area are pedestrian improvements. The sidewalks are in very bad shape. There are telephone poles that exist. They are narrower than current standards. It's really not inviting for people to walk around the district. People generally drive to whatever business they need to do business with, but they don't get out, they don't walk around. So one of the focus points is on the transportation access, making that more inviting to people and helping to reduce some of the congestion in that area. Another is building economic development capacity within the town. As Mark pointed out, I am responsible for the planning aspect of the town, my department, but also economic development. And economic development just doesn't get as much focus as we would like it to get as a result of just limited staffing. So that's going to talk about capacity building. The other is placemaking and open space, which is really about helping to create a sense of presence when you are in that district. Right now, a lot of the buildings, a lot of the commercial little strip mall areas, they're aging. There's a lot of clutter, sign clutter, and just in some cases you have clothing collection bins up in front of the businesses, things that aren't very attractive. There's underutilized land, and just how do we help? How do we make that better? How do we improve that and engaging with the community? I think there's one other area I'm missing off the top of my head. So we've been working with Heather Gould from the BSC group, and they have sent drafts of the recommendations. We'll be getting those together, and then we'll be doing, I've asked them to do a little presentation of the findings to myself, the town administrator, Dottie, and Mark. And then we will, once we provide some additional input, I'd like to put that out to the Economic Development Council, and we'll also be sharing and presenting that to the business community. The idea behind these plans is that there will be funding available to help fund some of the projects. So that's part of the plan, is identifying potential funding opportunities.
So, Jonathan, if I could just also add to that. So, one of the things I've learned from being on the Finance Committee and then on the Select Board and here in Economic Development and having done this for years is there's a process that has to occur for business and economic, what's the word I'm looking for? Economic life being put into an area of town. And it usually starts with a study or an idea, a concept, and then a study performed by the state or by an agency that demonstrates that this area does need this, and these are some ideas for it. Then it moves to another phase where it's, what are we going to do? And then there's, more grants you can apply for. So, whatever it is you do, does it fit inside this grant? And then money comes and then projects start. But it takes years. Like, this whole thing takes years, which, in the beginning, I thought like, hey, let's just wave a wand and do this. But these are the steps we have to go through in order for this to occur. So, I don't know if that helps you at all, but this is just how the game is played.
No, it's very helpful, right? Because not understanding it, right, and I don't understand it yet. you know, you drive by certain areas, you're like, oh my God, we got to do something here. Or here's an area that like, what are we doing here?
Mhm.
And yeah, you're right. I mean, I want to snap my fingers and be like, we got to move mountains. Let's get it going. Let's, you know, but we also live in a day and age where, you know, social media, like everything's at your fingertips, and anything that you want, you can get. You know, it's like if I can't get my Amazon package in one day, I'm upset, right? So like that's the day and age that we live in, and I appreciate that insight there, because you're right. There's a lot of processes that have to take place and things like that. So
You know, and even given this process taking place last night, I was actually at the Lions Club and we talked about economic development. And one of the questions from the people out from the Lions Club member to me was, well, there's, you know, in areas of town there are properties that need to be developed. Why aren't they being developed? And it's a great question. A lot of times people, they look at an area of town and they say, why isn't the town developing this? But what needs to be explained is that that property that you're referring to, whichever it is privately owned.
Right.
An individual or a business owns that property, and it's their choice. So if they don't want to develop it, guess what? There's not much we can do. If they do want to develop it, we want to work with them in developing it. But we do have properties in town where there's not interest from the owner to do anything, and it's, you know, it's frustrating for me. It's just frustrating for people who live in town, but that's not the town's doing. That's
Right.
the individual owner of that property not wanting to do something.
of course, we don't own it. The town
Surprised
doesn't
how
own
many
it.
people say, "Hey, Easton, why aren't you, you know, developing that property?" And it's like, we don't own it.
Right.
So that's, you know, I just wanted to add that too. So, does anybody else have any questions or comments about that program for Stephanie? Okay. I think the next item is a local regional pilot, and Dottie, is that you?
Yes, so that's the Discover Easton app. So I'm glad to hear that you've downloaded that and taken a look at it. We have over almost 500 people have put it on their phones now, mostly Apple phones, iOS operating system, much more so than the Android, but it's available in both. You can go and download it from the Apple and Android stores. And we have right now in the printer, we're printing up some lawn signs, some banners, and some 8.5 by 11 just flyers that we'll give to businesses, ask them to put them in their windows. When businesses claim their site, they go onto the app, they see if they're listed, they can put in a request to claim their site where they'll get a login and password, and they'll be able to actually go on and update their listing. They can put specials, they can do all kinds of things like that. And if they're not listed, there's an email that they can send a request, and then their site, their business will be added to the directory, and then they claim that business, and again, they can update it and make changes to it themselves. So there's probably been about 10 businesses that have done that so far. So we need to, you know, once these signs go out, we're hoping that will generate some more interest. And we had a social media push on the town's Facebook and the Economic Development Facebook page. And then Mark came up with a great idea to do an explainer video. I don't know if anyone has seen that on the Facebook page, but it's a cartoon. I can share my screen and play it if you want me to.
I was just going to say,
Yeah, that would be
1
great.
minute.
ready to go. It's got to be shared. I want this to go down in the records here. I can't hear it.
Do you need to turn the volume up, Dottie?
Oh, no.
You know, I can try sharing it from my screen to see if the audio will play on mine.
There's typically an option when you share that says share your computer audio. When you go to like share your screen, it might be an option within Zoom that you have to use to do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Hold on a second. So I can hear it in my ears. Mark, you try it.
really wanted this to be in this meeting and heard. Hold on. Share sound, okay. Okay.
The Discover Easton app is great for all residents and people just looking to explore Easton. Use the business directory to find out where to shop, dine, play, and enjoy the outdoors. You'll also find out about your local government and what's going on in town. Become a civic citizen and engage with your town like never before. With features like shopping, dining, recreation, government, residents, departments, utility payments, and social media updates, you'll find it easier than ever to stay connected with Easton MA with just a few taps on your mobile device. To download the app, look for Discover Easton in the Apple or Android store and discover Easton today. Claim or add your business. You can add your logo and photos, update information and business hours, offer local deals and special offers for free. Claim.mycivicapps.com.
So did everyone hear that?
That's
Yeah.
great.
All right, great, awesome.
Awesome.
So professional.
Yeah, that's the goal. So I want that to be shared everywhere. You know, one of the things is as part of the grant, we received money to also promote this, and we had to submit all of this stuff before the video was ready. And so I wish we had the opportunity to pay to share it, you know, to pay to promote it, but we don't right now. So I'm hoping that everybody will share it on their personal Facebook pages, and don't just share it once. If you could, like every 2 weeks, maybe put it back out there, because you know once it gets shared, it gets in. You know, 2 weeks later, nobody's going to see that. So you know, keep bumping it if you could. But yeah, that's the video.
How do we get that video?
I'll send it out.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll
Well,
put that on Instagram for sure.
If you go onto the Easton Economic Development Council Facebook page and you share it from there, it's probably better to share it from that site than to put it on your own, because it will amplify the audience that way.
Totally. Do we have an Instagram?
We do not.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a good Instagram thing, but we don't. So yeah, that's the video, and you know, looking forward to those signs coming out that are being printed up, and you know, I think wherever you see a Easton outside or Easton is open sign, you're probably going to see a sign for this app, Discover Easton. And you know, I said this in the last meeting, and I'm pretty sure Dottie and Stephanie or everybody's on the same page as me. I want Easton to be the community that pushes, promotes this app, so that other communities who have it turn to us and say, "How did you do that?" So we're at the beginning. Might feel like we're at the end, but I think we're at the beginning of pushing and promoting this app, and it really has to get a buzz. And we need participation from not just the community, but from business owners. That's a major key to this whole puzzle. Business owners need to use it so that people who live in town will want to use it themselves. So spread the word.
Mark, if I may ask, who sort of owns the app? Like, who's in charge of it?
We own it, Dottie. You could speak better to that, but I think we own it.
So Old Colony Planning Council is the regional planning agency, and I work for them as my day job. I'm the economic recovery planner. So my job is to work with 17 communities from Easton to Brockton to Plymouth, Duxbury, down to the Bridgewater, Stoughton, Avon. And so there was a grant opportunity from the state. Old Colony Planning Council applied for it. And we had 4 towns, Avon, Stoughton, Easton, and Brockton, that wanted to participate in this marketing promotion. So I, on behalf of Old Colony Planning Council, did all the work to develop this app, to work with the app developer. The towns or the municipality signed the agreement with the app developer. And so this was paid for the first year. So that includes setting up the app, designing it, getting it launched, and the signs are included, all of the marketing materials. The app has a portal that the administrators can look at. So I can go into each of these portals and see how many people are using it. So at the end of a year, we'll be able to actually demonstrate whether there was a value to this. We're going to do surveys to the communities to see, to the business owners, is this helpful to you? And then if that's the case and the town wants to renew it, the town will pay the renewal in year 2. So this is paid for through next July. And then, hopefully people will see a value in it and the town will need to find a way to renew it in year 2. So the town actually will have ownership, if you will, but it was developed by the Regional Planning Agency.
Great.
So in our, between now and our next meeting, anybody want to think of creative ways to push that out, or if anybody wants to volunteer to bring maybe what's the word I'm looking for, the scan, what's it called when you put your phone on?
QR code.
QR code. If anybody wants to volunteer to go around to businesses in town and say, hey, would you hang this QR code in your window or display it somewhere so that when people enter into your establishment, they can just see what that's all about, and boom, next thing you know, they're there. That not will only gain support from residents, but it'll also entice the business owner to participate in using the app. So I think that's maybe a next step, something along those lines.
That's part of the 1,000 flyers that we're getting printed up. Is part of them will be to give them to businesses and ask them to put it in their windows, and it has the QR code. And the other part will be to give to the municipality's clerk's office, so that somebody that comes in that wants to open a new business and get a business certificate, the clerk will give them one of those flyers as well. So, and then we're going to just try to put them around into different places around town and share them as much as we can. Yeah,
the distribution of that is going to be really important, and I'd love for all of us to participate in that. I mean, that's what we do, right?
So is it on us to sort of come up with ideas of how to promote it or like get it out there?
Yeah, so we already have a media contact list. So we had it on both Facebook sites, the town's and the Economic Development's Facebook page. We put it in the town crier, which is a weekly email that reaches over 3,000 people. We just, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing the signs, the banners, the flyers. There was an article written, I can email you, or there was an article written in the Journal, Easton Journal. I presented the app in June, I think it was, to the Easton Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce will be promoting it. And then we have like a media checkoff list on that. So that's pretty much the big ones. We could promote it on cable. We could do a cable show with an interview on the app and how to use it. Maybe bring in a business owner and have them be part of it and talk about, maybe Neil Levine wants to come on and talk about how great the app is for his business. There's a lot of things that we can do with that.
Yeah, sure. And I'm definitely going to email ECAT and see if they'll put that, rotating in between meetings and whatnot, that commercial. We'll see. But does anybody else? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add, we have put together our list. I was going to be meeting with my clerk in the department tomorrow so that we have mailing lists and email lists to all the businesses for whom we have that information, and we'll be sending it out that way too, communicating with them.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the app?
It's fantastic. It's really, really awesome.
Great. Yeah, Jonathan, as you can see, we dabble in a lot of things here. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of ideas, and they actually do wind up coming to life. So
it's great. Everybody should have this app in the town. Honestly, I mean, I was sort of blown away. I didn't know we had it, and I'm like, oh my God, how do we get this out? Give it to the Moms Clubs of Easton distribution lists, and like, who can we give this to where like people are gonna actively want to use it and get, show the value of like, school information and business information. And like, there's a lot of really useful stuff in there. And like, let's get it in the hands of the people that are going to use it. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Take that excitement and run with it.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, so we covered the app. Next item on the agenda is the EDC website update. Matt is not here. Matt Whitman, John, he does all the work for the website, and it's constantly evolving. It's going to always be evolving, and anything we need him to do, he does, and he does a great job. However, he's not here. I know, and after our last meeting, he sent out his latest work and asked for comments. I don't know if everybody commented on that. It took me a couple weeks, but I actually left a comment. But my comment was that I couldn't figure out what more he could do, but I didn't want him to not think that I wasn't paying attention. Dottie, I think you had a comment or some advice. But if you guys haven't seen that, Matt's last email, if you could go back, check it out, and just offer your opinion, so he's not left alone in that. But as far as the EDC website update, I'm just going to table that until Matt gets here for our next meeting. So the next item on the agenda is general outreach and support. Discover Easton app, we already covered that. Northeastern Bank, #1, Forbes and Statista ranking recognition. Stephanie, could you add to that?
This was, I think Dottie forwarded this information to me, and I made, it was posted, maybe Dottie posted it on the Facebook page. Mm-hmm. Again, yeah. Just reinforcing local businesses. I think Dottie probably did the farmers market promotion on the Facebook page. And then the last item is potential available properties. I was contacted by Mark,
yes,
who had been talking with the owners of Ladessa, which is a Middle Eastern style restaurant that operates in West Bridgewater currently, right on 106, not far from Easton. I don't know if anyone's eaten there, but their food is very good. And they're looking for a new location. So I was able to provide Mark with some information. I don't know how useful it was. On some of the locations or things we're anticipating to be developed in the future, but we know we have 661 Washington Street that we'll be looking for new tenants, and there are several folks who own property in the Furnace Village district, mm-hmm, that are looking to take advantage of the new zoning there that a restaurant like this would be suitable for. So again, just trying to keep that information going to support businesses and attract new businesses, which is local, just not local to Easton right now, and hopefully will be.
So this is a great example of how the Easton Chamber works with the economic development. So I'll just 30 seconds talk about how this came about. So the relationship created between the Easton Chamber of Commerce and Easton Economic Development Council has benefited business and the town so much. So Karen Newman, who's the director of the Easton Chamber, reached out to me. Ladessa is part of the Easton Chamber, despite being in West Bridgewater, but on the line, they're part of the Easton Chamber. They wanted to move. Karen reaches out to me and says, hey, this business wants to move, and they're thinking about moving in Easton. What do you know? So I turn right to Stephanie. I'm like, hey, and I share all that information with her. The next thing you know, there's this whole list of what could help that business exist in Easton. And I don't think that would have happened, or not as quickly as it happened prior to this incredible relationship being forged. So you can actually see the full circle of how the chamber, who has all the business membership, and the town, and then the individual business, how we're all trying to help each other out. And it's this open door where that happens in a very short period of time, which I think is incredible. So I just wanted to point out how that relationship exists. Okay.
Hopefully I'll have a new one to add. I did get for next month's report, but just along those lines, just being able to help when an entity calls, a business calls, and or a developer, and they're looking for land in Easton and certain projects. And I received a call about a month and a half ago for someone looking for some development opportunities in Easton. And I suggested they contact someone we knew who was looking for an investor. And I think that may have panned out and something may come of that. So.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about that? We're coming up to our hour break here. Okay, so one last thing, Jonathan, is one of the things economic development does, in anybody who can participate in ribbon cuttings for new businesses, it's great. There is one tomorrow at 2:00 at Personal Best in Easton, Personal Best Karate. They have new owners, so it's a reopening of sorts. There's going to be ribbon cutting. The economic development team is invited to that to be there with the chamber. There's people take pictures. It's really cool to be at these ribbon cuttings. We've all been to them, but you're going to be invited to them all now, Jonathan. So,
awesome, great.
And next week is National Small Business Week. Get out in Easton, support local business, spend money with local business. There's a lot coming in the pipeline as far as supporting local business. I'll give you a little teaser. I was talking with some members of the Lions Club. They're having last night, they're having an auction. They do an auction every year, but this year it's going to be a little bit different. They're going to auction off like gift cards for local businesses. So this whole auction will be money basically raised to support local business. I don't know the inner workings of it, but somehow economic development, Easton outside, somehow we have to work together on this, because this is going to be such a great concept that will support local business, and they'll feel it immediately. It's really cool. So that's the teaser. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any final comments or questions? No? All right. Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Boyer?
Second?
Second, Fulgenetti. I'll go around the room. Fulgenetti?
Yes.
Spencer?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Danielson?
Yes.
Boyer?
Yes.
Did I already say yes? Yeah. Lamb, yes. All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you hopefully very soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Bob.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.